Hi, everyone. I'm John Lux. I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida, and welcome to Film Florida Friday. Film Florida Fridays are interactive conversations about current topics, initiatives and relationship building in Florida's screen production industry. Today, we're talking about creative storytelling and corporate documentary filmmaking. In a moment, our panelists will introduce themselves, and then we'll ask them some questions. During that time, we're going to ask everybody to keep their microphones on mute to avoid background noise. After we've gotten through all of our scripted questions, we'll open it up to the audience for questions and conversation. At that time, please use the hand raising function under the React button so we can call on you. We're going to ask everybody to keep their questions and comments brief in the interest of time and out of fairness to others that also want an opportunity. As always, Film Florida Fridays are free to attend, but we hope you'll consider donating $20.26 for our 2026 fundraising campaign. The donational link will be posted in the chat box, and you can always find it on our website as well. If you're not a member of Film Florida, we hope you will consider joining at filmflorida.org. And with that, let's meet our panelists who are great members of Film Florida. Go ahead, Kevin, why don't you give us a start?
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with Two Stories Media. I'm the creative producer and co-founder of the company. We've been around since 2017 formally. I did some work before then as a freelancer and just pretty much dabbling in anything and everything that I could. Came up as a G&E and camera assistant guy and kind of worked my way into a DP role, producer role, and that's kind of how the business started. We are we are a human-centered storytelling company, so we always want to make sure that the viewer knows that the person in the videos that we create is the hero, and we are always trying to bring up the show don't tell methodology of storytelling. Making sure that yes, we have a script, but we want to make sure that the visuals bring out what we are trying to evoke, the emotions we're trying to evoke.
Chris, how about you?
Hi, everyone. And John, thank you so much for including me in this panel. What a great turnout. I know they're here for Kevin, but I'll try to pull my weight a little bit. I'm the executive producer at Kennetic Productions, which is located in Jacksonville, Florida. We're a branded documentary film company. We use our talents, expertise, and experience as filmmakers to help organizations tell their most compelling stories. I started this company in 2003 in my parents' spare bedroom right out of college at the University, after the University of Florida. And we've always been looking around to see how we can make some money doing video production. We started with Lynn and Bill. Our first clients were a wedding video, and we've gone in 20 years, 22 years, from $2,000 wedding videos to $200,000 documentary films. And when you think of it that way, it feels exponential, but when you're through it for 20 years, it's very incremental growth. We've always been, just like you, Kevin, really interested in the humans and stories and telling authentic stories. And I think now that's more important than ever. So I'm very excited about this conversation and learning more about your company and about the members of Film Florida.
Well, that's actually the reason when you guys mentioned the human-centered part of it. That's exactly why I wanted to have both of you on. So, Kevin, let's go back to you. You mentioned the human-centered storytelling. Explain what that is from your perspective, and talk about kind of big picture how that shows up in your work.
So yeah, with filmmaking nowadays, it's very easy to take a product or a service, and your entire campaign or your entire video production or even photo-based production is centered around that product. You have a coffee mug, what's sitting right next to me, and 90% of the images are of that coffee mug, and it's going to be a little harder to sell that nowadays, right? You need that human connection. You want to have someone who really enjoys that product, be the hero of that story, and have that connection come through in your visuals. And whether it is narrative based, it is commercial, documentary based, you always want to prop up your personnel on screen, the bring that hero element, connect with them, and that's what will help sell that service, sell that product, or tell that story. I mean, Chris does some amazing documentary work, and we have a few under our belt, a few more hopefully in the works, and that's the same thing with documentaries. I'm a sucker for watching as many documentaries as I can, and when you watch a documentary, you're compelled to either like that person or not like that person. But it's that human element that that evokes those emotions.
Which is a different approach to kind of corporate communications. Like,
Mhm.
people don't think of that. So how did you guys stumble upon that as kind of like the thing that you do?
Honestly, it's just because we liked it.
Okay.
I wish I could say that there was like this, monstrous, roundtable meeting, and we just we're always kind of pushing our clients to tell a story centered around a person, quite frankly, and bring up that hero, that again, that show, um, that show don't tell methodology. You want to see that person either perform that act or use that product, and want to believe that you can do that, or you can benefit from having that product. It's kind of started with one of our early clients, University of South Florida, specifically the Muma College of Business. I definitely stand by them being our first client, quite frankly. Years ago, we're talking like 11, 12 years ago at this point, and we had to try and sell courses, right? They want people to sign up to go to college. And how do you do that? Oh, you will benefit from signing up. You will benefit from this AA degree, from being in college and getting your 4-year degree, from getting your master's, from being in the DBA program, whatever the case may be. You're benefiting. So how do you do that? You show the progression of being in school, getting your degree, going, into the workforce and getting a high paying job. So you show all of that, even though there was always some sort of voiceover narrative that's helping push the story, but you're showing that you can do that, and you can be that next person. So um, that's something that we always kind of liked and believed in, and then it kind of trickled into other projects, and now it's a core model of ours.
Now, Chris, Kennetic Productions has worked across branded content, documentaries, commercial all types of different things. How do you describe your company's creative identity?
I was thinking about this, and I think something that's identifying for Kennetic Productions is that we are really interested in industry, and we are super interested in work, like legitimate work that is getting done. Um, I'm an entrepreneur. Um, I respect work getting done, no matter where it is. It's all cool to me. And I think that's one of our cultural ethoses is like, you're doing cool work. We think you're doing cool work. Maybe not everyone else does, but we do. And when we really dig in, a lot of times it's the humans that are doing that work that make the story the most compelling. And so, to answer your current question and also kind of your previous one a little bit, is that it's the humans doing the work that are most interesting, and humans connect with humans. And so when you're looking to connect with an audience, those stories are really, really important. And then when I'm thinking about stylistically, when we're doing documentary film, how you would kind of know that it's done by Kennetic. Authenticity, of course, is number one. That's kind of a barrier to entry in any kind of documentary filmmaking. So we're not, I would say, unique there, but we're highly focused there. But we also like to keep our pacing snappy. We don't like to let things linger a lot. We like our audiences moving from one thing to another. And that also dovetails into another stylistic element where we'd never like our audiences to be lost. I think sometimes as a filmmaker, so much about your topic that you are not remembering that your audience is learning about it for the first time right now. And so we will use a lot of creative techniques to just continue to ground our audiences in the stories that we're telling, like timelines or, information, words on screen, just things to give people a break to kind of ingest information and then move back into the human storytelling element. So I think that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Good. Kevin, looking at this, I mean, you've done a lot of great projects, but some of them that are really kind of stand out are clients like IMG Academy. You've had a long-running relationship with them, Bob Marley Fragrance. Is there one that really captures your storytelling approach? I mean, I know, both of you, you pay your bills with clients, so you love all of them the same. But is there a project that maybe like sticks out to you that says like when this client calls, we all kind of get a little bit extra excited because we know it's going to be a really great storytelling opportunity?
I mean, both of those. You picked two good ones. Yeah, I mean, we still have about something crazy like 6 active contracts with IMG as we speak, or open projects rather. So we stay very busy down there. And then yeah, the Bob Marley fragrance. That's a relatively new one. We're only about a year in with them. Done 2 productions. And that's an interesting one. I mean, the Bob Marley brand, I mean, everyone here knows Bob Marley, right? Like Bob Marley brand, you can go buy t-shirts and all sorts of merchandise. You know what he stood for, his music, everything in between. And they have recently uh, made another division that is a fragrance line. And we've had the pleasure of creating all the video and photo elements for that campaign. And it's released about a year ago, and they just came back last month actually for part 4, and they're probably coming back in about 6 months for part 5. So it's a fun component because you get to showcase your area, which is kind of nice. Like they want to shoot in Tampa Bay. They want to see the beaches. They want to see the water. They want to see everything that we have to offer here, but it has to look like it's not shot in Tampa Bay. It has to feel a little bit more international or ambiguous as to the location. So we get to kind of flex our storytelling where we get to show our area, but not show our area at the same time. And the people on screen are what matters. So this last one was 2 models on a beach, enjoying the water, getting their tan on, and we were able to just focus on them and make really, really pretty visuals centered around our 2 models that make you want to buy their fragrance, even though there's only like in the entire campaign, there's only like 6 shots total of them holding the fragrance bottle. It's just these people walking the beach line and going in the water and playing and suntanning and sitting around a cabana and drinking cucumber water and it makes you want to go to the beach. It makes you want to look at their merchandise. It makes you want to consider a new fragrance for your next date. And that's the emotions that we're trying to evoke in it. When in reality, like I said, you only see the actual fragrance bottle for 3 seconds, 4 seconds in the entire 30-second spot, but it makes you want to consider that product. And that's what makes those projects really fun, where you have a physical product that you're just trying to infiltrate into the marketplace and actually barely use the product. It's kind of a fun little twist in what you're actually trying to do.
Yeah. Now, Chris, kind of same question for you. You work with clients ranging from Flagler College to Wounded Warrior Project. Walk us through, a recent project that stands out to you, either from either of those or not, from Kennetic Productions, and why it was creatively or logistically unique for you.
John, I echo Kevin's sentiments that you've picked 2 really good ones for us too. It's like you do your research. So
That's Katie.
that.
That's Katie.
Thank you, Katie. I'm from Connecticut originally and came down to Florida in 1999. But I vacationed in St. Augustine, Florida every year of my life from Connecticut. And Flagler College is the center of St. Augustine, and it is based upon Henry Flagler from Standard Oil coming down and building the Ponce de Leon Hotel and basically starting tourism in Florida. It all started there and flowed south. And so we had the opportunity to document the renovation of this historic building, built in 1888. It's the first grand scale renovation of the building since then, and it has life to it. Coast Guard's been there, college has been there, guests have been there, and so they really had to dig deep to the studs and redo that place, but do it with care and attention. And that was an absolutely wonderful project that we got to do. It'll be airing on PBS locally here very soon. But it presented, all these projects present creative challenges in some way. And I don't know if anyone in the virtual room has ever filmed construction and walked up to a superintendent and been like, hey, we're here to film you work, but creative challenge. Let's just put it that way. Not a happy gentleman that there was going to be a camera crew and, all that kind of stuff. And so navigating a year-long active construction site was definitely a creative challenge. And then seeing our team come together and build something beautiful, worthy of the airwaves, and that makes Flagler College very happy in a town that I've been visiting since I was 0. Was definitely very, very rewarding. But also, you bring up Wounded Warrior Project. It's like the largest nonprofit in the nation, and it's headquartered in Jacksonville, and it's doing amazing work. And that presents different creative challenges working with them because they have a video team. And so often we'll come in and we will augment an existing video team when the storytelling gets more sophisticated or is a little bit out of their realm of what they normally do on that team. And so then we come together and we'll be directing our director Keegan will be directing, their camera operators. Our producer Kevin will be handling the logistics for the entire project, and 2 teams coming together. And it's an interesting, definitely an interesting creative challenge that we relish. And some of the work that has come out of there has been really meaningful. We did a project about tattoo therapy, where a warrior is using tattooing for other warriors as a form of therapy. And it was incredible. What a story. And so being able to do work like that is very rewarding. Thanks for picking those 2 examples.
Yep. Now, Chris, let's stick with you for the next question. And then Kevin, we're going to ask you the same thing. But when you begin a project, I mean, like, how much of the story is typically clear up front versus discovering, during the process? I mean, I know the answer is a little bit of everything, but let's talk about when the story is not up front, and a client comes to you and says they know what their kind of end result wants to be, but they don't have any idea what the story is. What's the process that you go through to figure out what is the story?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, and Kevin's similar from a documentary point of view, it's never all there. And if you go in thinking it's all there and try to force what you assume is the story, you can come out with something that's kind of crappy. And so the goal is always there. The scenario is typically there. The audience is always there. And then it is about letting it develop through the voices that are identified. And typically that's one of our first steps, is who are the key voices in this scenario, and they can typically dictate where we go from the process. We did a film on Jacksonville history for our convention bureau up here. And the magic in that piece was not the 200 years in history, it's who we selected to tell it. It wasn't the normal voices. It wasn't people that are always heard from. And it became, very rich culturally and interesting to watch. And so I think that is our strategy typically, is once we have the groundwork, is who are the voices.
Kevin, the same to you. Like, how do you figure out what the story is when you're not the quote unquote subject matter expert?
Asking a lot of questions. You have to ask a lot of questions. And when you ask a lot of questions and you get a lot of answers, you inevitably have to ask even more questions. You have to be willing to talk to your POC, your point of contact, your subject matter experts, the extensions. We say it all the time in all of our meetings and all of our discussions internally. Stories will always spiderweb out. You have your, again, your POC. You're talking to them on a regular basis, and mid conversation they just offhandedly throw out a John, like mid conversation, fluid, and they just keep talking and talking and talking, and you get all these answers, and you go, so who's John?
Yes. Yes.
From 4 minutes ago, you just randomly throw this guy's name out. So who is he? Oh, that's my former boss. Blah 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 blah. And you're like, cool. Can I talk to him? Open ears. Listen, listen, listen. Because if you ask enough questions, they will give you more than enough information, and that information will spiderweb out to gather more intel and create a better story. Some of our best storytelling pieces was simply because we posed a lot of questions and got a lot of answers, and it's spiderwebbed out. And some of our stories that, quite frankly, we're not overly proud of, we look back and go, we didn't ask enough questions, and that's on us. That's on us to get that information. It's easy to blame the client. It's easy to blame the subject matter. It's easy to blame that the visuals weren't there, or you were handcuffed in this and handcuffed in that. And a lot of that can be true. It truly can be. I mean, we all are creatives at heart, and we want things to go as well as they can and give us the amazing Emmy award-winning story, and win this, and win that, or get these amazing shots. But at the end of the day, it's on us. And if you can't connect with everybody to get that story, then so it's an unfortunate situation. We've all been there, but we have to be able to communicate and get those questions answered. And then, like I said, ask 10 questions, get 10 answers, and get ready to ask 10 more.
Yeah. Now, Chris, how do you ensure that a final piece that you produce resonates emotionally with audiences while still delivering on the client's messaging goals? Because let's be honest, some of our clients aren't the most creative people. And so they just want their end goal told, but that it's not going to be accepted or resonate unless there's an emotional, pull there. So how do you kind of ensure that emotion is there while still delivering on that client's message?
I don't know, hiring one of the best directors in the industry. It's that is a creative challenge. It needs to, for us, it needs to start with authenticity. It has to always include the audience and make sure that we are putting ourselves in their shoes. And also including the client constantly in the process. We definitely focus heavily on collaboration with our clients, even when they're not creative, because honestly, it's their story. They are the experts on the story. And so we'll use small tools just to keep them in the conversation and then inject our creativity along the way. And I think one of the best tools we've been using is transcripts. Like, we transcribe all our interviews and we give them to the client and we ask them to redline them. Take out everything that's not supposed to be in here, circle things that you love. And if we can start there, it's like a blank puzzle, really. They give us the pieces and then we're able to kind of come in and put it together into something that really resonates. So I don't know. I think collaboration is probably, the best form of what we do. And then just having really talented individuals. Like, I'm the business guy. So Keegan Infuso and Kevin Duncan, and Dave Lee are all really talented director, producer, editor, and they've just been doing it a while, man. They know where the bodies are buried. They know how to get around the minefield. And so, they've done it before. They know how to, boy, I'm just going to wax metaphor here, but they know how to squeeze everything, every last drop out of anything, even if it gets really dry. They do a great job.
Well, both of you touched on something there that I want to, kind of segue off a little bit. Let's talk about budget. because Kevin, when you're talking about asking a lot of questions and spending time with the client, that takes time. And Chris, when you're talking about transcriptions and then having red lines and all of that, and you guys all going through, that takes time, and time is money. And so client comes to you and says, like, this is the budget, I got X, but you really know that you need Y to do something really good. How do you balance that? Kevin, you go first.
I don't think any of us are on this call or in this industry to make millions of dollars. Let's just call it what it is. Right off the get-go. You have two choices. Your X and Y examples are quite accurate. You have two choices. You either beg and borrow and try and get as much out of the client as humanly possible. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. Or you just eat the time to make a better product so that way it's something that you're proud of. That's really your two options, and both have we've done both. We're in the middle of a project right now that we're definitely doing the latter, and eating time, eating hours, and we're gonna have a much better product, and we're gonna be significantly more proud of it. But the client was remarkably upfront and firm and very definitive on this is our amount. Don't come asking for more. This is what we got. Period. End of discussion. As long as you hold up your end of the bargain, then you can't, you got to be proud of what you deliver. And if you have a $10,000 budget, 100,000, 500,000, whatever the amount is, hold up your end of the bargain on production days, on deliverables, on creative input. And if you have to go beyond that and you can get more from your client, biggest thing with budgets is having a candid conversation early. It's Most people don't like talking about money. It's a very uncomfortable thing for a lot of people. You have to break down that mental barrier of yours, and you have to outline what things cost, why, and what you need to get a project done. If you can't talk about money, you're not going to make it very far in this industry. And I have no issues talking about money. It's not it's a mental barrier that I broke down years and years and years ago. I think I've been okay talking about money since my high school or college days. I don't know. I'm fortunate that I just didn't have that issue. I know several people that had to kind of um, kick down their own mental doors, and they're good with it now. And that's the biggest thing. You have to be okay talking about money. Even if when you're talking to a client, you say, okay, let's have the uncomfortable conversation. Let's talk about budgets. Let's talk about numbers. Sometimes you'll be surprised that your client doesn't even like talking about numbers. And you can crack a joke and say that this is the uncomfortable part of storytelling for both of you. But, you have to figure out what their budget is, what the range is. And one thing that I would recommend is having a contingency line for any large scale project. If it's a $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 job, maybe, contingency lines, there's nothing left, right? But if you have a 40, 50, $100,000 project, see if there's an opportunity for five, six, $7,000 contingency that is used, that's allocated on their side. They are ready to spend it, but only if you come with a compelling argument 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road. It can help the budget, right? Later. And we found a lot of success in having contingency lines that are allocated on their side. And sometimes you can use fiscal year or the new year budgets to your advantage in that situation.
Chris, you said you're the business guy. So like talk about that tug of war internally, between you and your creative guys where you only have a certain amount of hours you can allocate and they're saying, well, I need more if I want to do a good enough job.
Well, John, I want to first thank you for asking a question about budget. Since this is the world I'm in constantly, I'm very excited about this question. I, like Kevin, don't have any issues talking about money, which honestly, if you do find someone that doesn't and bring them onto your team, because that is very important. And if you are a freelancer on this call, being able to demonstrate your value with your proper day rate, and understanding that world is super, super important. When I'm talking about budget, the first assumption that clients will tell you what their budget is not the case. It's almost never the freaking case that they'll say, we have $50,000. What can you do with it? It is more, we will ask the question, do you have a budget in mind for this project, for this scope? And they'll be like, oh, no, we just want to see what you'll come in with. And then they'll tell us two things. Number one, very often we're in competition, and it's very hard to design a proper budget when you know that the budget may be a determining factor. Or two, they just don't know. And one of our key strategies is translating the budget into terms that are understandable, because filmmaking budgets can be very confusing to someone that's not in the industry. They can be very long. The Excel spreadsheet can be wild. And so it's really important to us to be able to take that really long spreadsheet and boil it down to like 3 phases, and be able to explain, the development, production, post-production, those kind of phases to a client that is not in our world, so they can understand not only where our pricing is coming from, but also what a lift would be. What kind of decisions are they going to make that would cause a lift? Is it another production day? Is it another deliverable? Things like that. And so we can kind of quickly educate there. That's really important. And then that helps build the framework for our creative team to be able to design within that. And number one, our creative team is involved in these discussions. So if there is a limiting factor that is created with the budget, they know where it came from. And in many instances, they know it sucks that we can't maybe do this third day or something like that, but they know that it was either that or we're not doing the work. And I'm also really transparent within our organization with our closest people, where we are. How's the company doing? Do we need this work? How bad? Stuff like that. And so I think that transparency has been really important for us, so that we don't get that really tug and pull from the business side and the creative side. We're a team.
Let's talk about trust, because I think that's some of what you guys all have to deal with, both on an internal basis, but also with your clients. So Chris, what are some of the strategies you use to build trust in a new client, which then hopefully translates into more trust as you go on as a repeat client?
We involve them in our process. We let them be there every step of the way. If they want to be on set, if they want to be there for the interviews, if they're going to watch our director conduct an interview, the trust is going to skyrocket, because they're going to know that we're doing what we say we're going to do, and we're doing it to a higher level than they ever could. We are digging deeper. We are pulling back the curtain. We are trying our hardest to make these interview subjects comfortable and also get the most genuine answers out of them. And then when they see the transcripts coming back and they start seeing this story take shape, and we're meeting about it, and we're talking about the directions that we can go in and the visuals that we can get, and how that's translating directly to the budget they already agreed to, and we're not asking for a lift day 4, on something that we didn't sell them, something that we couldn't deliver on. They are just involved on a constant basis. They don't have to do the work, but we really like them to be on our team. And I think that really builds trust, and it helps build repeat clients. We're on our second contract with Flagler College right now, and it's because of how the first one went. And that's how we've built our business. And so it's a great question, because it's something we really focus on.
And Kevin, let's take it a little bit different direction on the trust side, but in order to take some creative risks that maybe will pan out, you have to have trust from the client. So how do you work on getting them to trust you that your vision is going to get them the end product that they want?
by not inundating them with all of our internal thoughts on day one. Uh, take it in stages. You know, you need to make sure that they trust you as a filmmaker, trust you as a production company, trust you as an agency. All right, you need to show them that you're capable of bringing their vision to life just on the surface. And then conversation two can be one nugget of visual or storytelling creativity that, you know, you can take it a step further. You know, do you want to use you know, anamorphics? Do do you want to do a mini series rather than a full doc? Or do you want to do a full doc rather than a mini series that they were talking to you about? And you know, stage three is maybe showing them examples as to why what you're presenting is what you believe to be the right call. And that trust also can be built by listening to them. If they bury their heels on one idea, they're the industry experts. They maybe are right, and you have to be willing to truly believe them too, and not go, well, they don't know what they're talking about. It's easy to say that, but you're not in their meetings. You're not seeing what they're seeing. They're not showing you everything right off the rip either. And Chris had a good point about the budgets a little while ago that they say a number or don't say a number. It's it's a game. They bluff. They try to get it for less, or you know, you're in competition, and you know, they might dig their heels in on a certain concept or a certain parameter, and maybe you still can get them to come to your side, but that's also showing you that that the trust isn't 100% there. So you have to be willing to kind of back off and progress on all the elements that you're already in agreement on, and then maybe you can kind of detour back to the, you know, the mini series or the anamorphic lenses or the full campaign, adding photography, whatever your creative pitch is. You can always come back to that two, three, four, five conversations later. I mean, have that we found some success in that, you know, letting the client have their victories at appropriate times. And you also have to be willing to say, oh, wow, they were right. You know, they wanted this to be a mini series. I thought that this could be a full length doc, but now I see what they're seeing, and they made the right call. And that trust gets built when they realize that you're also on their side.
Yeah. Now, Kevin, you know, follow up. You know, interviews are a huge part of what you guys do in kind of telling these stories. And interviews are not, you know, sexy. But what techniques do you do to try and get authentic, natural responses? And do you have to switch things up sometimes because you can see, okay, this approach isn't working with this, you know, because they're not on camera talent. They're real people.
Mhm.
So do you have to kind of switch gears sometimes because you know you're just not getting what you need out of somebody?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's um, having multiple personalities on set can actually benefit you. You have to be willing to kind of flip a switch in your head, and some people are very stern and you know, the superintendent example from earlier certainly made me laugh, Chris. Definitely been dealing with that
Yep.
semi recently, but that personality, not necessarily superintendent, but that personality, you know, it's a very strict, stern, a serious individual that's putting out fires. And sometimes you have to be willing to meet your interview subject where they are. And seeing the different personalities, this is a game of life, right? You've run into all these different personalities at the grocery store. All right. If you are conducting an interview and that person is bubbly and lively and smiling at everything, meet them there. If they are if they are just that serious, you know, just straight-faced individual, meet them there. If they're somewhere in between, meet them there. This conducting interviews is a game of psychology. You have to find a connection with that person. And if that means talking about kids or not talking about kids, or bringing up sports or not bringing up sports, or like I said, being smiling and bubbly, even if that's not your personality, you have to find a way to connect with who you are talking with. They will find that connection meaningful to them, and they will give you more out of the interview. And that's how you can create a more compelling storyline, even if it's a 30-second piece or a 30-minute piece or an hour and a half piece. You need those answers, and you have to be able to bring that out of that person, and you have to meet them where they are.
Yeah, good, good. Just a note for our audience, we only have a couple left of our scripted questions. So if you do have questions for Chris or Kevin, go ahead and use the hand raising function. You get lined up at the top there. It's easy for me to call, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Chris, I want to go back to you. You know, as everybody knows, these days, everybody has access to a camera on their phone and editing software. Talk about the importance of offering additional services so you're not just a company that brings a camera crew and does some editing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that our industry right now is losing those projects. And I think that what those used to be, the kind of paint by number type of video production projects, those used to be the infill. Those used to be the bill payers, the ones that could keep your company going in the in between. And with us focusing on much larger budgets, much more in-depth storytelling, documentary films, those in-betweens are important because the sales cycles are increasing. I might have three larger projects in my pipeline rather than 15 to 20 at a time, 10 years ago. And with the advent of all the new technology and artificial intelligence and all these things, I really see a lot of those projects going away that used to keep us busy in the in-between, used to keep our contractors busy. I'm seeing them not working as much because those aren't popping up as much. And so I think from our perspective, it's going to be more about expanding our footprint and diving deeper into our current skill set across the state and across the Southeast, rather than being more local like we have been before, because the projects are drying up, not completely, but they are in Northeast Florida, and we need to get out there a little bit more. I mean, we've filmed all over the nation, but our clients are typically in Northeast Florida. So it's more about strategy. It's not really, we're not adding additional tools to be able to get those smaller marketing videos anymore. We're just trying to dive deeper into projects that are basically really not that, but then kind of expand our services outside of Northeast Florida region.
Yeah, making sure you're adding value, because it's easy for a client to just say, "Oh, well, we'll just do that internally. Somebody can do that."
Very common. We get that. We get that a lot, and we'll lose competitive bids for smaller projects like that when they don't have an internal team to individual content creators,
Yeah,
who are doing great work, and we just can't compete there.
right. Besides that, Kevin, what are some of the emerging trends that you see right now, in storytelling that clients are responding to?
Multiple deliverables. Everybody needs 10, 15, 20, 30 extra pieces of collateral on top of the main piece, right? So we just finished a mini doc, I don't even know, 2 months ago roughly, and that also came with 5 short form pieces. I mean, it was already a smaller piece, 15 minutes, and then we had 5 small, uh, 30-second roughly vertical pieces to help them market on top of the trailer, which was 60 seconds. So they got 6 extra pieces from there. Fast forward 2 weeks later, they asked for 5 more. So they realized how quickly they burned through, or they were about to burn through those 5 small deliverables. So that's a very, I mean, that's not overly new that's been kind of in the works for about 18 months now. Clients asking for more and more on the small deliverable side, but that is continuing for sure. And you're getting a lot of mixed media elements. They're providing miscellaneous content from 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that you're also kind of mixing in to a full campaign for longevity purposes.
Chris, how about you? Trends that you guys are seeing?
I think that there is a trend, definitely, and it's a very good trend, where some organizations are rising to the top and they want to double down on authenticity and big storytelling. These are the more well-funded organizations. These are the bigger ones that are trying to break out from the constant volume, this video all the time. It's crappy, it's constant, it's volume. They are trying to, really put some money behind things. I'm seeing that happening with us. They're placing big bets. And that's really exciting. And it's great to be bet on. It's a lot of pressure. But I am seeing that happen now. That's not a giant trend, obviously. But it is one that we're trying to really dive into, because it's there. Because I think a lot of people are looking at what's happening and how things are just kind of becoming AI. Like, even if it's not AI, it's just becoming very, like, no heart. And people are trying to get away from that.
Yeah. Dave, you have your hand up. Let's bring you down so everybody can see. I'm going to add the spotlight. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi. I'm literally shaking here because I'm definitely in the right place at the right time. I'll cut to the chase as quick as I can. 7 years ago, I went to a dear friend's house. Ellen is her name. She's in the acting industry. And there was on her kitchen table a stack of letters. And I said, what are those? And she said, those have been sitting in a shed in Miami for 70 years, something like that. And I said, what is it? And she said, they're letters from her uncle, Jaime Herman Silverman, a Marine in World War II, from boot camp to the sands of Iwo Jima. The letters were just magnificent. I've never seen writing like this, and so raw. One of the exchanges was he is in. I can't, this makes me cringe because it's so shocking. He was in a bunker in Iwo Jima with dead soldiers all the way around, all around him, and he was writing a letter to his wife and family saying that, hey, the food here is great, everything is wonderful, we're having a great time. An hour later, he writes a letter to his confidant and says, this is a horror show. I've never seen anything like this. And so I put together what I wanted to be a podcast at first. And I said, no, it's bigger than that. And so then I did, in my humble studios, I put together a presentation for the Broward County Cultural Arts. They had a $3,000 they were going to award. And I submitted it, got it, and I put on a multimedia presentation at ArtServe in the Fort Lauderdale Library. And they have 4 actors, and I had audio and visual, a lot of effects, and it was just staggering how it was received. And the fun thing at the end, they didn't know that Ellen, the little baby, whose picture Jaime carried with him in his pocket throughout World War II. This was his niece. And that's why I named the show Kisses for Ellen, because he signed every letter, Kisses for Ellen. So I snuck her into the audience. And then at the end of the presentation, I did a morph from her baby picture to her current headshot. And then I had her stand up, and it was just like people, they went, oh my God. So this is just something I'm going to throw it out there. If you want to look at just a pitch that I put together, it's an hour video. It's at davecoreyonline.com. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the video I made for it. but again, the beauty of it is it encompasses so much of what was going on there, not the least of which is having a Jewish soldier in the Marines. And at one point, he was warned by one of his friends, um, don't worry so much about the bullets coming at you. Sometimes there's some coming from behind. Um, so that was a prevailing shocking thing that was happening at that time. I think we're, aware of that to a certain extent. There's a lot of history that I included in there, what was going on in this country as far as race riots and stuff that I never knew was happening. So again, I appreciate this. Like I say, I don't know, I'm not pitching this, but it's been 7 years since Ellen and I have been in limbo. What's the next step? Where do we go with this great story? Because everybody that witnessed it that night at Art Serve, this 2-hour presentation, just it was magnificent, but it's still sitting there with that stack of letters from 70 years ago. So
Thanks
thank you
for
for your
coming on.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. That's an amazing story, Dave. And yeah, storytelling, at its finest, and at its worst, of course. Alexander, if you want to turn on your camera, I can add a spotlight so everybody can see you, or otherwise just go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi, hello.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yep, all good.
Oh, there I am. Perfect. All right. So this has been very fun listening to you guys. So thank you guys so much for coming. I'm a student at Ringling, and I'm very interested in documentary filmmaking. I was lucky enough I've been able to film at IMG before, so I follow your guys' socials. So I was like, oh, I've been to those places. And like there was this what really pulled me in was there was this company there that was doing a documentary for the NFL IPP, and it was like so cool. I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And then so I'm a sophomore and I'm about to enter my junior year, and so I'm considering like doing different minors, but I can really only do like one, and I'm kind of between three. And I know you guys probably aren't like super familiar with like the Ringling curriculum, but so there's one in business, which I'm sure like Chris would highly recommend or something. Then there's photography, which I know would probably improve my cinematography. Or there's virtual production for like LED walls and stuff. So I'm not sure out of the three which one would be the best for like future endeavors, I guess. I don't know where
Chris,
you
Chris, you want to go?
Business all day, my friend.
is all day.
Well, I think because you're embarking in such a creative field, I think being able to flex that other side of your brain and be able to understand the economy, how you would fit into it, how you can get hired and price yourself properly. And if you go in with that mindset, let's say you go into a business minor with the mindset that you're going to be a freelance creative professional. If you use that lens, you'll be able to come out of that minor with your whole business plan, your strategy, your pricing schedule. You will research all the day rates and all that kind of stuff. And it'll really open your eyes to understand the economy of film. It's a very intricate landscape and something you can fit into great if you know how to sell yourself and if you work hard and specialize in something that you're really good at and get better and better at it rather than generalize.
I'm gonna 100% agree with that. I went to Florida State. I had got a media production degree and a minor in English, and I learned a lot. I took quite literally every opportunity thrown at me. Pretty much never said no. I have one legitimate regret of my time at Florida State, and that is doing an English minor and not a business minor. I could not be more emphatic. I tell this to anybody who will listen, anybody who asks, take business classes. It is the number one, without a shadow of a doubt. The biggest regret that I have was not doing that. No one told me to, so it was just kind of, I think I would have if I was just told that once. But yeah, take business classes. If your minor is however many 3 business classes, take 5. I don't if you have an open slot, take a business class. Just being in this industry, you need to be able to talk numbers, understand numbers, see how to build out a budget sheet, how to fund projects, how to make money on anything that you do, right? And understanding margins, gross versus net, depreciation. These are all things that you have to be able to understand, and being able to see a number and immediately within milliseconds understand what your line items could be and what your profit could be, something in that range. It makes the world of difference. A lot of my guys, they laugh at me. It's a loving laugh, but they will laugh at me when a number gets thrown at me and I immediately say, oh, that puts us at like a 40% margin, and their heads will just snap over and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's what I do. I'm a creative that understands numbers. I'm very good with it. We even have an accountant, and I will go toe to toe with him on a daily basis. I have a call with him at 2 o'clock today to go over our all of our March numbers, and I will go toe to toe with him on anything that he throws at me, and I will shock him repeatedly on understanding, oh, well, yeah, I get it. That was a $40,000 contract, but we had these margins and we had this. And, that probably, we probably spent an extra 1,500 that we didn't need to. And he'll look at me and he'll be like, well, it's 1,700, but your 1,500 rounding was close. And I'm like, yeah, sorry. That's just how my brain works. Take business classes. Like, seriously, that's the number one.
Yeah. Thanks, Alexander. I totally agree. When I went to college to be in the industry, I come from a family of accountants, and so they couldn't believe it. And in an effort to make sure they didn't disown me, I agreed to take some business classes. So I had accounting and I had economics, and I took some supervision classes. And I will tell you, to this day, I love all my industry classes, my core classes, but I use all those other ones every single day. Supervision was amazing to learn how to manage people and supervise people, and same thing with the accounting. I mean, debits and credits. And yeah, those were the hardest classes I took in college, were my econ class and my accounting classes. But they are still with me 30 plus years later. So I totally agree. Let me grab another question from the chat. Project management software. How do you guys manage multiple projects at multiple stages all at the same time? Chris?
So we had a lot of luck with Monday. Monday.com is a project management software, but we actually transitioned out of it and we use Google. We use Google Chats, Google Drive, Gmail, all those things to manage kind of our complete workflow from pitches and contracting all the way through to project management, project conversation, and delivery. And then from kind of when visuals start coming in kind of perspective, we're in frame for client review, internal review, changes, all that kind of stuff. That is where we are putting a lot of our transcriptions, our interviews, our cuts, all that kind of stuff is going into frame, and we will use that internally and then use separate parts of it externally for the client. So our mix right now, with some wild cards, our main mix is the Google Workspace and Frame.io.
Kevin?
We were using Asana for years and years and years. And just about a year ago, almost to the day, we transitioned over to Notion. It is fully customizable. Our accountant actually is the one who got us over onto that. He is a Notion expert, and he did a full customizable build. But that's what Notion is. You can customize everything, and that's what we utilize. It's been a game changer for us because of the customizable elements. You can make, every sort of tweak imaginable, and you can make all your post-production processes. You can have boards for each team member that sees what you want to see and the viewing parameters that you want to see. And then you can have different boards for, I'll just read some of our boards. I'm not going to show my screen, but I'll read read just a few of them. I mean, we have client board, we have projects, we have tasks, internal projects. We even have a documents and passwords board. We have, I keep all of my analytics for proposals that are sent and accepted and the different categories that they fall in. So I understand what I am selling, when I am selling them, and if I lost them, how do I know how I lost the job? Was it because of money, because of them, clients unfortunately just vanishing out of the ether? We have time logs, services, and that's just to name a few. So yeah, Notion is the platform that we use.
Good. Miss Street, I will add your spotlight. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Looks like you are actually in a classroom.
I am. Hi, I hope you can hear me. Good morning. First of all, thank you for the time that you're taking. This is my performing arts class. So I had them listening in because they are about to leave and step into life. And a few of them are interested in doing filmmaking and editing and things. So I always like to have people like you in front of them. So the question that Alexander didn't ask, and I will ask because it's in the room here, is how do you break in? Right. So it's one thing for them to build up their portfolios with these great opportunities that you're talking about. But once their portfolio is there, are they standing in front of an agency? Are they just giving you some cold calls and emails? How are my writers, my directors, and my DPs? How are they? And I was the one who asked the project management software because personally I'm also a filmmaker, so I have 3 projects right now, and I was doing the Google thing, and it wasn't a thing. So I might do Notion, but again, how are my ones who are stepping into the industry? How do they start?
I'll start this one off, if you don't mind. I just you said when their portfolios are there, and I'll just start by saying very definitively, your portfolio is never all the way there. You're always changing, adding, altering, and
That's
making a better portfolio. So that is a little bit of a misconception that your portfolio is quote unquote there. And I know what you mean, but I want to make sure that your students hear it, that your portfolio is never good enough. Just period, end of discussion. It's just what stage it currently is in. And then you will make a better product, a better project. You will learn a new skill, and you will update said portfolio. So please never think one day you wake up and you're like, it's great, I'm going to get a job. No, you might get the next job that will then help you get the next job. And you're always leapfrogging to the next one. Showing up on projects is to answer your actual question. That's how they're going to get their opportunity. You're going to have to work for free, intern for free. You're going to have to help out on some sort of project, take pennies on the dollar for the first opportunity, second opportunity, heck, maybe even third opportunity. A very recent example is I had someone reach out to me twice in like a 3-month span looking for a job. He just, he fell on some hard times, got out of school, and, the first time he called, I legitimately had no opportunities for him. He made rounds again about 3 months later. Clearly, he's calling anybody and everybody who will answer the phone, every production company, everybody he can find a number for. And he ended up calling me again. He didn't even realize he had talked to me roughly 3 months earlier. I gave him an opportunity, and he didn't show up. And yeah. I told him he can show up to this upcoming project, like this upcoming Thursday. It was like a Monday. Gave him the address. He would be a PA, just help on set, do what you're told, stand in the corner, listen, ask questions, push a cart, move this, go grab a stand when asked for. And he didn't show up. And you know what? That's on him. That's just plain and simple. That's on him. I sincerely believe he did not show up because he wasn't getting paid. And I understand, we all have bills, but if someone's gonna take a chance on you, show up. That I cannot be more emphatic about that. We currently have an intern right now, and she shows up to everything, everything. She cannot jump far enough. And we've had a few of those interns, we've had a few of those personnel. And when you connect with someone, people in this industry are loyal to a fault. That's what I have found. That's how we operate. I know a lot of other people who will do the same thing. You always hear someone say, "Oh, I got a guy. I got this person. Oh, I know someone. I have a great PA. I have a great DP." That's just something that is kind of in our bones as filmmakers, right? I think everybody here is probably thinking of their go-to DP, their go-to gaffer, their go-to PA, their go-to whatever. And it's because we are loyal to a fault as creatives. We connect with a person, and you don't have to connect with them in the sense that, like, you're gonna get beers with them after set, but you like them on set. You like how they operate. They're a cool person. You share the same values. You like their work ethic, whatever the case may be, right? If you connect with someone, be there. You're going to get the next opportunity. I came up in G&E, and it was because I showed up to the first job and I worked my butt off. I did not know what I was doing, but you know what I could do? I could lift stands, I could move sandbags, I could push carts. I did not know what I was doing, but I could lift and move things. And I learned one or two things, and I got my next opportunity. Quite literally, about a week later, that same guy called me back and he was like, "Hey, I have a job coming up, and I know you're not really, like," and I disclosed to him, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll move whatever, I'll push whatever, I'll lift whatever." And he said, "I have a job coming up, and you're gonna earn it. Like, you're gonna be pushing. We got a lot of things to move, push, and lift. And if you're willing to you're gonna be sore. It's a 2-day job. You're gonna be sore." And I got paid for that job. I didn't get paid for the first one, but I shut my mouth. I listened. I pushed. I lifted. And that job, I was a paid job, and I was probably the most sore after a job I have ever been. He was 100% honest. And that after the 2-day job, I'm laying in bed and I could not feel my body. I was so sore, but I did my job, and I got the next opportunity. I got the next opportunity. I got the next opportunity. And that's just an example for grip and electric. Camera will be the same way. If you get in with someone as a second AC or a script supervisor or whatever position, just listen, take notes, ask questions at the applicable time. There's a time and a place to ask questions. I had an intern one time that on day one, I look over and he's typing on his phone and he puts his phone away. Always at the right time though. Like, it was never when he was supposed to be working. And honestly, at lunch, he started asking me a bunch of questions. And I looked at him and I was like, "Is that why you were on your phone?" Like, always at the right time, like never like, when he was supposed to be doing something. I literally would see him in the corner, like typing, put his phone away, doing whatever he needs. I'd look back over, he's doing this, puts his phone away. And he was writing questions to ask us at lunch. "Hey, you guys said this. What does that mean?" And I mean, again, another just incredibly hard worker, and he got a job afterwards. We were one of his references. I was very proud of him, and he's actually moved up in the company that he got a job for. So ask questions, listen, do the hard things.
That's great. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mrs. Street, and all of your class for joining in. I mean, one thing I will just throw in there is one of the best pieces of advice I got coming into the industry was be so valuable that they can't get rid of you. Even if you're there for free, be so good at the job that there are people saying, like, "Who is this kid? We got to make sure he's here next project, next thing." And that, you can never use the excuse like, "Well, I'm not getting paid," or "I'm not getting paid enough." If you accept the job, you give it the same effort as if you're being paid handsomely. Don't ever use the fact that you're an unpaid intern or low pay on the totem pole as an excuse to give poor effort. So Okay, one more. We got one more question
John,
from the. Yes, go ahead,
John,
Chris.
can I just pipe in real quick?
Please.
For Ms. Street's class, I would just like to add that understanding the landscape of the location that you are going to target to be employed is really important, because there's going to be two distinct factors in the production world. There's going to be the production companies doing the paid work, and there's going to be the film community that are freelancing on those sets and also doing their own side projects as passionate filmmakers. And it is much easier to hop in with the film sets of the passionate filmmakers, to start being plugged in the community and recognized for your work. It is actually very difficult for a production company to bring someone in just to hang out on set or see what it's like. You are now insured. You are now being fed. You are now another asset that a producer is in charge of. And so it's actually a lift. And so a great act of kindness when Kevin's team does something like that, if Kennetic does something like that. But when you hop into a 48-hour film festival with some friends that you've made, when you hop in and you grip for a film, those are the relationships that I see getting built, and where these individuals get recognized for their work and sought after for the paid sets.
That great addition. Thank you for saying that, Chris. Okay, last real quick, and then we're going to wrap up because we're getting short on time. One from the chat. When you're talking about how both of you were talking about how you have multiple deliverables now with your clients, how do you ensure that they execute them correctly? Do you guys stay engaged for the kind of rollout of different things, even if it's weeks and months down the line, or do you guys have to kind of hand off the baby and hope that they do it the right way? Kevin, you want to take that first?
I took the last one first. I'll let Chris take this one.
Okay, Chris?
In most instances with us, it's about proper design of the deliverable and then trusting the marketing team that we're typically working with to disseminate it properly. And I will tell you, they don't always do it. But we don't have control of their channels. That's not our function. Or their distribution channels. And so, there's been some frustration where we will do regular projects on a yearly basis around some amazing things. And we'll get to the next year and we'll see that a lot of expensive things were not used. And they're going to be very valuable. Kevin, I don't know if you've had the same experience, but that's happened to us more than once.
Yeah, it's definitely more than once over here as well. And the very first deliverable for the Marley brand fragrance was actually recolored using an Instagram filter on top of our color. And
Damn.
we all died inside and just kind of went into a hole. And I don't know what their social media person was thinking, and I had to send an email being like, I can't even like not say something in this regard. And they admitted that they, that person or that division didn't know what they were doing, and they thought they were actually helping. And it's sad because it still lives on social media and they still put ad dollars on it. Every once in a while we see it pop up again, like, okay, so we're still using it, cool. But then the other deliverables just look significantly better, and it's properly colored. We have our in-house DP is also our colorist, and he does a fantastic job. So that's one that hurts to this day. I just saw it, I don't know, a week ago, make another round on social. I'm like, why are we not fixing our mistake? But yeah, you don't have sometimes control when the agency or the client is the one handling everything, and you just kind of have to just cross your fingers, hope for the best. And more times than not, it's used properly, but there's always those exceptions.
Yeah, the trials and tribulations of work for hire, right?
Correct.
So, okay, Chris, how can people learn more about you, Kennetic Productions, what you're working on, all those good things?
Absolutely. I'm personally most active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. Our website is kenneticproductions.com. That's KENNETIC, kenneticproductions.com. I would say our most active social channel is Instagram, KP_video, to search for us there.
Kevin?
We're active on all socials. Got a very active marketing director at Two Stories Media, TWOSTORIES Media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think he has some stuff going on to TikTok. I say that because I trust my guy. I see stuff get posted and I just go, oh, we did that. That's right. We compartmentalize really well over here. You have to trust your people. And, if you go on to our website, everything's Two Stories Media. We're very consistent. But yeah, that's where you're going to find everything. You can see anything that we do, anything that we're currently working on. That's where everything is. So.
Excellent. Excellent. So that's going to wrap up this edition
John,
of Film.
I got one more thing real quick. I know you
Please.
guys are working quite diligently on the 2026 campaign, donating. If anybody donates their $20.26 today, we will match it up to 15 people. So if anybody is been considering or just hasn't done it yet, please do so. Make sure John or Katie are aware, and they will send me a tally at the end of the day, and we will match it.
That is unbelievably kind of you, Kevin. We appreciate that. But that is going to wrap up another edition of Film Florida Friday. Thanks to Kevin and Chris for being with us today, and thanks for both of them for being such great members of Film Florida. As always, thanks to Katie Collins for helping me wrangle and prepare for Film Florida Friday. This is going to be our last Film Florida Friday for the season. We're going to take a few months off for the summer and be back. As Kevin mentioned, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, always looking for any support we can get. So if you're able to donate that $20.26, please do so. That is in the chat box. You can always go to our website. There's a donate button at the top. We hope you also will join Film Florida. If you're not a member, keep up with everything we are doing on our social media pages. Check out the Film Florida podcast, which is available on most podcast outlets. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Thanks for being here, everybody. Be kind and be safe.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.